One of his very best hundreds. He has put his heart and soul into this Joe Root all-class.
Absolute beauty. Another time we could go for just for Kumba. Well bowled, very well bowled. That is the wicket that England would have been hoping for.
We have had a fabulous day of Test match cricket. Yeah, we really have seen some memorable Test match cricket over the last 4 days. It has been stunning viewing. Weather permitting, we're in for another treat on the final day of this first Test between England and India. Welcome to Trent Bridge, where I'm sorry to say at the moment at least, it is a bit soggy and wet. Hopefully this rain will blow through and we can get back underway. Because, Dinesh Karthik, good morning. It's been a treat to be here and watch this, hasn't it?
Oh, every minute of this Test match has something in it for it. It's been consistently good. The quality of cricket that's been around, I think the Indian team will be very proud of themselves, the way they've handled themselves in this Test match. There's been some tough moments, and so has England. Their captain is an absolute beauty.
157 to win. How big a challenge will that be for India?
A challenge, but not very big, I would think.
Really?
I think the biggest challenge was last night.
Yeah.
Those 15 overs that they batted yesterday. I think that's going to keep them in good stead. Not only for today's play that will happen, but also through the series. Some challenging conditions there.
So for Rohit and KL, is that type of conditions in England against Broad and Anderson with a Duke's ball just about as tough as it gets from batsmen from the subcontinent?
Oh, most definitely. Two of the best in the world. There are 1,000 wickets amongst them. The lights were on. It was cloudy, slightly dark. It was doing all sorts of things. And some of the balls that were just too good, but they found ways to stick in there. But the most important thing, every half a bad ball, they put it away.
Yeah, well, how important is that positive mindset? And the positive mindset to say, do you know what? There was nothing I could do about the previous ball. It's gone. It's now the next one.
I think the good players find ways to do that. When they get beaten, they don't get rattled by it. They wait for the next one. But half a bad ball, because in these kind of, when an opponent is attacking, a lot of the times you have some very, very attacking fields. There are boundary options when there's a bad ball. But you need to be in the mind space to get the boundary of that ball, which they did beautifully.
The first part of that package, when you looked at how dark it was, you could see the cricket ball, the Duke's ball, looked even darker. It was remarkable conditions to bat in.
Absolutely, and that's why I rate yesterday's 15 over. Just the 28 that KL Rahul got was worth its weight in gold. I mean, it's really hard to bat in those conditions. As an opener, when you come from subcontinent, you're probably facing something like that once every 2-3 years, maybe. And
Right.
in India, probably not even that. And the quality of bowlers, you're talking about Broad and Anderson, Broad's home ground, they had their tails up, but India somehow found a way to go unscathed.
Was there anything KL Rahul could have done about his dismissal? Or is it just one of those that you've just got to give it to Stuart Broad and say, you know what, mate, well bowled, I'm going off to have a cup of tea?
There is one thing he can do. Just pray to God that doesn't happen again. That's about how much he can do. Because I messaged him last night and said, absolute Jaffa. He sent me a smiley saying, I'm very happy with how I batted. Just goes to show that he knows these are the kind of balls he could get once in a way in a series. But you should just put that behind, and that's exactly what he's done. And I said, there's only one thing you can do, just pray to God that doesn't happen again.
Only one wicket though for England, despite the ball doing all of that, and they leaked a few runs. How would you assess how they performed last night?
I mean, first of all, I think it's a tad bit unfair to say they leaked. And I say that because when you have attacking fields, you want to bowl up to get the wickets. And they did that. And the good thing was the Indians put the ball away. Every time it was slightly fuller. But it could have easily been 30 for 4, 40 for 4, even 5 maybe. But still right now they're 50 for 1 and I think they'll take that.
A night watchman didn't come out. Do you think it would have come out if another wicket had fallen?
No, knowing Virat Kohli nowhere, he would have walked in there, you would have seen him there. But Pujara, I mean, a lot is at stake for him, but for him to brave it up and come there, I have a lot of time for those kind of players because I think it takes a special skill to mentally tune yourself to come when the chips are down, everything's against you, not many things going your way, but still come out there in the toughest conditions, do well.
Tough conditions to bat. Joe Root made his 21st Test match 100. He was kind enough to spare some time for me this morning. Joe, good morning. Thank you very much for your time. Before we speak, I'm going to take you back to that magical moment yesterday.
One of his very best hundreds. He has put his heart and soul into this game, Joe Root. Top scoring in the first innings, now holding India at bay in the second with one of his very best hundreds for England. Joe Root, all class.
Goosebump moment.
Yeah, I certainly enjoyed it.
What was that like with the crowd going up, your wife up in the stand?
Yeah, it was very special. To be able to enjoy it with the crowd again was really special. So the atmosphere yesterday, throughout this whole Test match, from the crowd and the fans has been unbelievable. So yeah, really enjoyed the moment. There's always that little split second where you know just before everyone else.
What's that like when you know out of a massive watching audience and people in the stands, you know you got it?
Yeah, it's a nice feeling. There was a lot of relief in it, and it was a hairy 5-10 minutes beforehand where I seemed to keep trying to get myself out. So to finally get there was really quite special in the context of the game, and hopefully we can make these 150 runs last as long as possible and create those 9 chances which will give us the win.
We'll come to the game in just a minute, but Athers on commentary there saying one of your very best. How highly would you rate that 100?
I'll be able to tell you at the end of the game, but certainly in terms of the way I played, is probably right up there against a very good attack on a wicket that has offered throughout the whole game. Felt in good rhythm. Felt like I got back to somewhere near my best, and hopefully now I can use that for the rest of the summer.
We arrived yesterday, and I'm sure a lot of people in the crowd arrived yesterday thinking, well, Root has to score runs with England's top order struggles. Do you feel that pressure?
No, I think everyone's working extremely hard. I think it's been a challenging time for us as a batting group, but ultimately we've just got to keep trying to take those opportunities. I think you've seen some glimpses of promise throughout this second innings in particular. I think guys looked a lot more assured at the crease, got a number of good starts, and it's about capitalising on those now for the rest of the series. You know, when we get in, really trying to be greedy, make those big contributions. And let's be honest, on this surface, there's only been a couple of guys that have managed to get themselves in on there. It's been quite challenging, and I think quite unique to the rest of the summer and what we've had before. So I think it's really important that we remember that when we go into bowl today and make it very difficult for people to start their innings.
I'd like to come back to your 100 and what you just referenced about just prior to going to 3 figures. You hit extra cover with a big booming drive. You then had a couple of cut shots, which you planted straight at extra cover. Here's an example. What are you thinking?
I was trying to hit it too hard. I was trying to smash it through the gap. But yeah, I think more than anything, like surely one's got to get through here. It's always the same. It doesn't matter how long you've played it. There's a few runs before getting 100, especially with my conversion rate. They're always a little bit hairy. So it was nice to see that fall short.
I was going to say, did you think you picked him out?
Yeah, he's my old mate Pajara as well. Played with him a little bit at Yorkshire. Great fella. Really enjoyed his company. So I'm glad he didn't have that one up on me.
As you mentioned, it's a tricky pitch. So how pleased were you with the rhythm of your batting, the fluency?
Yeah, I felt like I got my feet going really well, very quickly in the Test match. To be honest, I feel I had a very proactive mindset from the start of the game, really knowing that it was going to be challenging. There was going to be balls in there that might have your name on it. That it's really important you try and get those balls off your length without really taking too many risks, but ultimately making it hard for them to bowl at you. So when you did get those deliveries, really looking to capitalise on that and not being too scared of that one ball which might be a little bit too good for you. If that makes sense.
It does. I mean, it's a delicate, difficult mindset to get into when you know that the ball is jagging around and you're in defensive mode. We were praising KL Rahul for that. Very solid in defence as you were, but still being able to score when that opportunity arose.
Yeah, and I think his approach was slightly different. I think he left the ball channel to score off. But he did play extremely well. I think one thing that really helped me and that we spoke about as a group ahead of yesterday was just to remember to enjoy batting. Remember why you've started playing the game, and it doesn't matter whether you're playing Test cricket, whether you've not scored the runs you'd like coming into the game, that you have an opportunity to go and score runs and to remember that feeling of being 7 years old again. And now you're living your dream. Like, go and enjoy that occasion, go and enjoy that moment, and certainly try to go and embrace that myself yesterday.
As ever with England and India, there's been a couple of spicy moments, but some lighter ones as well. I mean, I say that both you and Vera have had dodgy DRS decisions and burned a few. What's going on? Well, they've lost all of their reviews, and this one down the leg side. A nice bit of banter between you and your opposite number.
Yeah, I think we're both guessing a bit at the moment, for being brutally honest. But yeah, it's a tricky thing to get right, especially when there's a lot of movement in the surface. It's trying to work out if it's done too much or if they've managed to get outside of the line. Certainly something that we're going to have to get right today. But it's been good fun out there. I think it's created a very good atmosphere in the ground, and everyone seemed to enjoy that so far.
Right, on to today. How do you balance taking those wickets and looking at the run rate and the numbers ticking down?
Yeah, I think we just got to make it as hard as possible, make those runs seem as far away as possible for long periods of time, but still manage to try and keep some catches in. Make sure we know that on this surface, you look throughout the trends of the whole game, it's very difficult to start an innings and can very easily get 2 or 3 wickets. The one thing that we've got massively in our favour is that pressure of batting on a 5th day wicket on the final day. The game can seem to be, or that total can seem to be miles away. So it's really important that we start well. We're relentless with the areas that we bowl. We test out the defences for good periods of time, and ultimately when those balls and those chances come, that we are ready for them and we take them.
It's been proper fascinating Test match cricket. Can I take you back to the passage of play just up to stumps last night, which was absolutely fascinating. There was some serious deliveries going down from Stuart Broad and from Ollie Robinson. Is it the tall bowlers that are going to get this extravagant bounce? Because at times these are unplayable.
That's why you feel massively in the game and slip bowling and behind the wicket is when you see that extra bit of bounce. Like you say, I thought we bowled really well. We were lucky to only come away with 1 wicket. But it certainly feels like there's going to be chances in there. I felt like there's a couple just popped away from fielders. That one of Pujara that just fell between Dan and I think it was Johnny at just backwards square leg. That could have very easily gone to hand, and the whole context of the game changes. So it's having that belief, staying in the game. Those guys know that if they stay patient and stay calm under pressure, then we're very likely to give ourselves a really good chance of winning this test.
Such fine margins. Is this a day to enjoy as captain?
Absolutely, yeah. No other way to go about it. You don't get many chances to play in games like this on the biggest stage against one of the best teams in the world. So certainly looking forward to it. And it's just a great reminder why, in my mind, Test cricket is the pinnacle of the sport. You don't get ebbs and flows like this in any other format, and why we should enjoy it and celebrate it as much as we can.
Well done, mate. Well played.
Cheers. Thank you, Woody.
Well, a smile and a thumbs up from Joe Root. The reality is that England are 2 down, still trail by 49.
He has put his heart and soul into this game. Joe Root, all class.
Oasis? Are you an Oasis fan?
Sunshine.
And all that?
How I wish I was.
He played beautifully, didn't he?
I was just thinking, there's a few adjectives to be smooth, silky, but I think the right one would be supreme. I think in this test match, he's been the best batsman and the most positive batsman throughout amongst both the teams. He's definitely batted the best.
When you say positive, what do you mean? Do you mean in his mindset, in his footwork, or the whole package?
Exactly what he spoke about in that interview. He said that the difference between him and KL Rahul was KL Rahul left a lot more, but he used that as a scoring opportunity. It's one thing saying that, you need to back that up with skill, and that he's got. Anything outside the off he's playing the late cut, anything full, he was driving, shot, he's pulling. I mean, what do you do when you need the best of the ball?
I love the way he said, just bat like you're still 7 or 8 years old, even if it's a test match, just have fun.
I can promise you, it's easier said than done. A lot of the batters are quiet there, the Sibley's and the Birds would love to be a 7-year-old. It takes skill to do well at this level.
Okay, well, let's just remind you the situation of the game, because it's tantalisingly poised, but unfortunately at the moment, rain probably will hold us up for a bit of time. So I'm just going to wait and welcome viewers on Sky Sports main event who've been with the rugby. Just to remind you of the match summary, where we are heading into the final day of this first test. It is, as I say, tantalisingly poised. A brilliant 100 from Joe Root as England made 303. India at stumps 52 for 1. They lost KL Rahul for 26. India need a further 157 more runs to win. They are in a good position thanks largely to 9 wickets in the game from Jasprit Bumrah. 5 in the second innings. He spoke with DK a little earlier.
Yeah, it felt good. But the more important thing is today, we really want the weather to clear out and the game to begin. So yeah, really focusing on that, and yeah, it was a good day yesterday.
What's the difference, do you think, in the conditions and how the wicket played out between the first and the second innings?
It felt really different. When we started to bowl in the first inning, it felt a little soft and there was consistent swing throughout. But in the second inning, when he bowled, it became a little slow, I think because of the heavy rolling that was done before as well. And it got slower. So when you went fuller to search for swing, it was easier to play. But then we had to figure out the length and try to seam the ball. So I think that was the difference between the first and second innings.
When you were young and growing up, you had a very different action to a lot of the others. So were there coaches who said, are you sure about this? Are you sure about this run-up? Are you sure about the way you're bowling?
I'm still young. I want to keep that in mind. But yeah, a lot of questions were always being asked that, this is a different action. But I was not always following a lot of instructions. I was always of the belief that, if I have something different with me and I want to keep it with me, so I could use it to my advantage. So I was trying to keep that in mind and trying to take my cricket forward.
Wide ball cricket is a lot easier on the body for young fast bowlers. Is that right?
Yeah, with the amount of cricket that we play nowadays, it's a double-edged sword. You can't.
Fantastic in terms of the game, and we want to make sure we win this and make it.
It's a double-edged sword. You can't say that it's just easy, but yes, obviously, Test match cricket takes a lot of toll on your body, especially as a fast bowler. But if you keep a coach's hand, it depends on what kind of interest the player wants to have and is he interested in Test match cricket. So I would look at it in that aspect.
How would you encourage young fast bowlers to take up Test cricket as well, when white ball cricket probably looks a little easier for them?
See, for me, when I was growing up, it was all about Test cricket because I used to watch Test cricket growing up and I always wanted to play Test cricket. But as a youngster, I would, if somebody asked me that this format is the most rewarding format, and if you want to be remembered as a very good player or who did something for the game, so this is the format that would give you that. So I would try and have a conversation with people who, even if they want to ask me, and try to show the importance of Test cricket.
So if young bowlers do come to you, you'd encourage them to play Test cricket?
Of course, all the time, because this format gives you a lot of rewards, and at the end of the day, you put in a lot of hard work, and then you get the result. It's really satisfying. One-day cricket, yes, it's good. T20 cricket, it's good, but that happiness of the reward is just for a day. But this reward, for years to come, you remember, and you always keep that in mind.
So you did get one major injury along the way. Has your fitness regime changed as a fast bowler post that?
My serious major injury happened before I played for the country. I got an ACL reconstruction. The back niggle that I had was not that major. So yes, I've tried to focus on my body, try to keep things simple, and try to keep a balanced diet. It's a 24-hour process, so it's not like you just do your gym work and it's over. I try to sleep well, focus on my recovery, train well. So all the aspects I try to keep in mind and then leave.
You bowled a few no balls along the way in both the innings. Is that because you're trying to bowl fuller and faster, or is it just a miss in the run-up?
No, sometimes when you get tired, so that is one aspect of the game that I'm trying to, improve, and I don't want that to happen very often and now and then. So I'm working on it. Sometimes when you get tired as well, when you try to push it forward, you're right, you can go a little over, and when you try to bowl it too fast as well, that can happen as well. So, but that is one aspect that I'm trying to improve and trying to keep evolving, and I don't want that to happen again.
I know it's raining. Last couple of questions. I know you just said that you've made only mental changes, not so much technical. What's the last technical change that a Bumrah has done? I'm asking this question because you're very different action to others. What's the last technical change that a Bumrah has done?
Technical change happened actually in 2018 when I came here, because before that I used to have the outswinger, but I did not back it a lot more than I should. So when I came here for the first time in 2018, the Duke ball swings for a longer period of time. So I backed my outswinger and tried to work on it in the nets and tried to use it in the game. So that is the last technical change that I made in 2018.
Very interesting. World Test Championship final didn't exactly go according to plan for you, and I know you set high standard. What's the difference between then and now? These 6 weeks, what have you done?
Not a lot of difference. I spent time with my family. My wife is here with me as well. So we were in London trying to, take a break from cricket, think about what you have to do moving forward, focus on your body, do some training, relax, and come with a fresh mindset. So that is what I was looking to do.
Lovely. Last question. You're batting. I know you were very proud of it. You put in some work there. That pull shot was something that was very special. Does Bumrah enjoy batting? Do you think you need to bat slightly higher up in the order? Is that something that you're going to tell Virat?
That is something that I'm not looking forward to, but he wanted to contribute as a lower order, so we are putting in a lot of hard work. Yeah, sometimes it pays off, sometimes it doesn't. But yeah, when it comes out, it looks really good. And then when you go inside the dressing room and you ask for all respect that, now you can make a lot of batting. So yeah, it is one of the good days, so yeah, very happy with that.
Is Bumrah the nominated night watchman when needed nowadays?
I've done that once. I batted number 3 for India.
Wow.
In a big ball test match. So that is something that I can always take back with me. So yeah, it's interesting when something like this comes up.
Thanks a lot, Bumrah. Go well for the rest of the series. Good luck.
Jasprit Bumrah with Brolly Holder. He comes across as a lovely fella. Why is it that bowlers always want to talk about their batting? They all do.
They do, and they have.
Win at Trent Bridge, giving a clear demonstration of Cook's ability to keep calm under the most intense pressure. His hold on the Ashes, though.
They do, and they have a long conversation about it in the dressing room as well.
His main skill, obviously, is his bowling, and he is up there with the best in the world. There's a little bit of mizzle in the air, but we're not going to get away on time at 11 o'clock. So coming up next, I'm going to hand you over to Michael Atherton and friends to look at some of the cricketing headlines.
The men. A different way and meet the virtual players on the Sky Sports app. Whether you're in the park, in the office having a daydream, doing shopping, or relaxing at home, looking for a butler. We want to inspire a new generation. As the 100 is for everyone. Visit the Sky Sports app and meet the virtual players.
Highlights, should we get any? Will be on the Sky Sports 100 channel tonight at 10:30. And you can also find them on the Sky Sports YouTube channel from 8. 100 is continuing, of course, and to the Oval we go today for the Invincibles against the Rockets, 3 o'clock in the afternoon for the women's game, and 6:45 for the men's. Still gloomy, still wet, and still depressing here at Trent Bridge, sadly, with a great day's Test cricket in store. There won't be any for a while yet, which will give us an opportunity to natter away about the papers. Got Bumble alongside me and the Guardian's excellent cricket correspondent Ali Martin. Well, welcome to the inner sanctum, Ali. It's not quite as posh as the press box four floors down, but welcome. Nice to see you.
Thanks for having me.
Can I ask you first of all where cricket stands in the pecking order at the moment for newspapers? It is an incredibly crammed summer, isn't it? You've got Lions, Olympics, football cranking into action now, and the Test match here. Is cricket fighting for space in the newspapers?
It is fighting for space. I think we've probably long become accustomed with football being a sort of year-round sport now, especially even with the summer months dominated by transfer news and what have you. But this is obviously a particularly unique summer. The Euros haven't been pushed into this summer, and then the Olympics as well. The Lions tour that was always scheduled, but yeah, you've only got to look at the sort of the back pages or the front page of the sports supplements this morning to see that where I sort of half wondered whether Joe Root would be appearing. It's Joe Chung, the pentathlete who won gold for GB yesterday.
And that wouldn't be a decision that you, as the cricket correspondent, would make. That's one back in the office, isn't it? What to put on the back page.
Yeah, funnily enough, they didn't ask me about that. But
can I ask you about your day yesterday? I mean, you've got about probably a 900-word piece to write, and your deadline is right on the last ball, isn't it? You have to press send right on the last ball.
Yeah, particularly Fridays and Saturdays, the editions go quite early. So yeah, you are looking at stumps or very close to, and then you're sort of scrabbling to try and make some changes, hopefully, for the later editions if they'll allow it. But we obviously had the Lions pretty much finishing at the same time yesterday, which meant that probably changes weren't as welcome as might have been on a regular day. So yeah, you can imagine the steam coming out of here in the office as well as in the press box here.
And Bumble?
Press box here.
And Bumble, you're still a newspaper man. You like a physical newspaper. When you were growing up in Accrington, what papers were in the house, dare I ask?
God, that's a long time. I know we got the Daily Express, and I think that would probably be seen as a conservative paper. There was the Daily Herald, the Daily Sketch. I remember the Daily Sketch. And then there was a sort of a thing called Rivali. I'm not sure they do Rivali now, but it was full of pin-ups.
The story yesterday, Ali, if we look at the papers, I mean, show your piece. Root Century offers hope, but chases on for India. Can you see that? Yeah, there we go. I mean, sometimes the stories write themselves, don't they? You didn't have to really think long and hard about what your opening introduction would be yesterday.
No, it's funny, that phrase does go around in the press box though, and quite often someone pipes up and says it never writes itself. But I mean, it was clear that Joe was going to be the headliner yesterday, and I think quite often it's not just the game itself, but it's quite often the narrative that goes around it. And you only have to look at the build-up to this Test match and what Joe Root is shouldering at the moment as a captain. There's so much going on. He's lost his vice captain, his best friend, and his talisman in Ben Stokes, who he's asked for time out, obviously to deal with a finger injury as well. He's lost what he hoped would be his strike, his sort of gun strike bowler for the Ashes in Jofra Archer, who's now out for the rest of the year. And in the background, we've got the sort of growing anxiety amongst the squad and the players in terms of whether families will be able to join them in Australia this winter, which, maybe in years gone by, they'd get on a boat or a plane and they wouldn't see their families for 4 or 5 months, but that's certainly not the case these days, and expectations, particularly in this time of, with the pandemic as well, that is causing a great deal of stress behind the scenes. So on top of that, with Joe Root shouldering the burden of sort of carrying this batting lineup as well, which is a slightly creaking batting lineup. For me, it made it, as well as the technical excellence out there, just made it one of his absolute best of the 21 he scored in Test cricket.
Yeah, I think we both agree on that point. And we actually both listened to his pre-match press conference when we sensed a little bit of the burden that you're talking about. Actually, he looked a little weary, didn't he, given that it was the start of a 5-match series. But all that context that you mentioned, the absence of Ben Stokes, the news about Jofra Archer, the expectation and pressure on him as a man who's shouldering the burden in, as you say, a fragile batting lineup, that was all there to see in his pre-match press conference.
It was, and actually that was a pre-match press conference which he brought forward by 24 hours. Normally it's a day out of the game, and actually at Joe Root's request, that was brought forward. The media, we all accepted that he's got plenty on his plate at the moment, and that request was accepted. But it was pretty telling that he did bring him forward, because that's particularly on the batting side of it. I think he really wanted to just have a clear day of preparation ahead of the first day's play. So
It was understandable, but you're right. You could see that there was plenty on his plate. Ben Stokes was still pretty new at that point. We didn't quite know at the time about Jofra Archer's eventual diagnosis with his second stress fracture to his elbow, but the Ben Stokes news was very fresh, very raw, and also very close to Joe's heart because they're not just teammates; they are very close friends. They've known each other since under 13s, Cumbria versus Yorkshire back in the day, haven't they? So it's something that he will have he will have felt on a personal level. But then there's obviously the cricketing side of it and what Ben Stokes brings to this team in terms of the balance, in terms of the match-winning performances as well.
Bumble, you've been around for an age. Just put Joe Root, the batsman, into context for us. I mean, who 50s would be the first memories of England players for you, or I mean, where do we go back to?
Well, definitely in the 50s, the players who were around at that time. Ken Barrington was a wonderful player, and Colin Cowdrey, Tom Graveney, and so you've got great players in every era. I've always said that the best player that I've seen play for England in all that span is Kevin Peterson. But there are different types of players. You can look at the greatest players that come to mind who have played for England, and Graham Gooch immediately steps out. Jeffrey Baldock for me, also just such a technical player. Goodness, they'd love for him to up the batting right now with the way things are going, but Joe Root is right up there. Michael Vaughan, briefly, was a wonderful player. David Gower, all the style that he brought. So Joe Root now with 21 centuries, and he's young enough to get many, many more. He's going to be a stellar player.
And as a captain, can you put him into context as a captain as well, from those that you've seen?
Well, the chat that you've just had with Ali, I'm reflecting that there's so much going on behind the scenes that will influence captaincy. The injuries to players, the pandemic, the nearness to your family, it all adds up. And also the new selection policy that will throw right onto his shoulders, I assume, with Chris Silverwood being the man in charge. I'm not sure that head coach is the right title for Chris Silverwood. I think he's more like a football manager with coaches under him, but he obviously works so closely with Root, who runs the team out on the field. And we get into that again as we had. The captain runs the team. It's his team. Give him what he wants.
Now, you've been in the job, not as the chief cricket correspondent for The Guardian, which you've just started, but you've been in and around the press pack now since, about 2008, so dozen years or so. You've seen a few England captains along the way, so you'll have gone through probably the back end of Vaughan, bit of Peterson, bit of Strauss, Cook, and now Root himself. In terms of the way that those England captains have interacted with the media and been helpful or unhelpful, whichever way you look at it, how have you seen that change over time?
I think it probably has changed a lot. I think probably a watershed moment was when Trevor Bayliss came in as head coach in 2015. I think that kind of, I think it was more, it wasn't just about the captain, it was the overall environment that was set up, and I think there was kind of maybe a tension, and maybe walls possibly came up a bit on England's side of the equation a bit towards the end of the sort of Andy Flower era, and maybe slightly bled over into the Peter Moores era. But I think there was a sort of bit of a pressure valve released when Trevor Bayliss came in, and a year later Danny Rubin came in as the England media manager as well, who also looked to really open things up and just relax everyone and just get people chatting both on the record and off the record, just to create a greater understanding of what was going on. It's funny you mentioned all those captains had Jimmy Anderson at their disposal, didn't they? I mean, they've all been lucky in that respect.
Well, he's been around so long. You were a backpacker when he started.
Yeah, pretty much.
And Joe Root then, has he been helpful in the main to the media? He's the public face of the England team and carries that broader responsibility. Have you found him particularly helpful as an England captain?
Yeah, he has been actually. He doesn't really shirk a question, and he's pretty friendly around the traps as well. So even if you came up to him with an inquiry, it might be something about you're always scuffling for the team or what have you. That he'd always stop and have a chat and yeah, I do think that's probably the way to go. I think the siege mentality, it may work in a certain series or a certain summer, but I think over time it can become a bit self-defeating.
Well, the Sunday Times, that obviously is the Root story as well, defiant Root that sets up the game. But just at the